Welcome to the Divorce TV show, and we've got a show packed this week with our divorce squad from Best Way to Divorce. We start with a pre-recorded interview with Caron Barruw, who's a psychotherapist, and we have a shared story from Fearless Divorce with divorce coach Jonathan Burston, and a healing with Susan Cowe-Miller. And now we move forward to the news. He's all over the news. We've got Bill Gates and his wife are divorcing. And Gates' divorce reflects the UK trend to settle out of court, say lawyers. This is in The Guardian. Reported separation contract of Bill and Melinda shows agreement can be reached without litigation. So look, apparently you can get divorced without fighting it out in court. This is coming from a newspaper, so this is very exciting. Their extraordinary wealth sets them apart from most couples, but the separation contract reportedly agreed by Bill and Melinda Gates reflects a growing trend among divorcing couples in the UK to settle their affairs without going to court, leading family lawyers have said. The pair, who married 27 years ago and reportedly had no prenuptial agreement, are said to have drawn up a private agreement to divide their assets before announcing their divorce this week. Insiders say that a team of lawyers had probably been working on what is being called a separation agreement for at least a year to avoid the need for litigation through the courts. For high-profile couples such as the Gates, the decision may be prompted by a desire to avoid costly court litigation and retain privacy. I imagine privacy has a huge amount to play in this. Spurred on by court backlogs exacerbated by COVID and an increasing number of creative alternatives to litigation, couples are increasingly deciding against going to court. This sea change in attitudes to divorce is backed by family judges themselves, who are increasingly using their powers, about time too, to send couples away from court with orders to sort it out between themselves. Obviously, it's better if you avoid getting to that point in the first place. Emma Guild, a director of divorce and family law at the law firm Vardags, said the increasing popularity of alternative measures to litigation is leading to a sea change within the legal profession itself. Experienced barristers are switching their focus away from the courtroom to adjudicate in private sessions, she said. Early research suggests a boom in divorce as a result of the pressure cooker of lockdown. Law firm Stewart's logged a 122% increase in inquiries between July and October, compared with the same period last year. Almost a quarter of working mothers in another survey said their relationship with their partner had worsened during the pandemic, with 1 in 8 considering a breakup. There is no research into the number of cases that settle before they come to court. Why not? That's just ridiculous, isn't it? There's no research into the number of cases that settle before they come to court. But the increased interest in separation appears to have coincided with a reduced appetite for litigation. Simpson Miller, the law firm, has reported that 74% of its clients have expressed a preference for keeping things civil. Added to which, it said judges are now actively promoting alternative ways, and as a result there is much greater pick-up on all these alternative fronts. This is great because it costs less money, takes less time, and is better for the whole family. But once again, you shouldn't have a judge telling you to go away and use mediation. The whole point is you to avoid being in front of the judge in the first place. But this is a healthy trend. Now on to another tale of very wealthy people getting divorced, and unfortunately in this case behaving badly. Frederick Barclay was told to pay his ex-wife £100 million after divorce battle. Frederick Barclay must pay £100 million divorce settlement to his former wife Hiroko after a High Court battle in which a judge described the British billionaire's behaviour over the sale of a luxury yacht as, get this, reprehensible. Justice Jonathan Cohen ordered Barclay, 86, who with his late twin brother David built a business empire spanning property, hotels, as well as ownership of the Daily Telegraph newspaper, should pay his ex-wife £50 million in 3 months and the remainder next year. Hiroko Barclay had sought £120 million after the end of the couple's 34-year marriage. Her divorce settlement is one of the biggest awards in recent years by London's High Court, but far lower than the $435 million awarded in 2016 to Tatyana Akhmedova, ex-wife of Russian billionaire Farhad Akhmedov. We know all about on this show, don't we, how awful their divorce was. The High Court imposed wide-ranging reporting restrictions on the Barclay case, as divorce proceedings are usually heard in private. But Cohen handed down a short public ruling on Wednesday. In it, the judge criticised Barclay's conduct relating to a luxury yacht after the High Court made orders to control the boat's sale and use of the proceeds. Barclay completely ignored these orders, sold the yacht and applied the equity for his own use. I regarded that behaviour as reprehensible, Cohen ruled. Cohen said Barclay, as a public figure who should have been aware of the potential consequences of disobedience of court orders, and his behaviour in the proceedings should not be allowed to pass completely under the radar. Quite right too, and I'm glad he's being held up for it. The judge said he had been critical, indeed at times very critical, of aspects of the way Barclay presented his case and his acts of omission. He said his principal criticism related to Barclay's treatment of orders made by the court to produce documents and answer questions. So he basically ignored court orders and clearly lied, effectively. That's what acts of omission is. The Barclay brothers had kept a low profile for years, guarding their privacy, but last year tensions erupted in a High Court case. Frederick Barclay and his daughter Amanda sued the relatives of David Barclay for allegedly being complicit in bugging 1,000 of his private conversations at the Ritz Hotel, which the family then owned. David Barclay died this year, so the Barclay family bought the Telegraph newspaper group and Spectator magazine in 2004. Frederick Barclay said, "I'm saddened that after 34 years my marriage has come to an end. This was not something I wanted. I hope my former wife can find happiness. I wish her well." Probably not trying to do her out of money would have been more useful than your good wishes. Law firm Payne Hicks Beach declined to comment on behalf of Lady Barclay. And last week, moving to Singapore. And in Singapore, we have a woman who seeks 6,500 Singapore dollars. That's about £3,500 or nearly $5,000 in child support after divorce. But her ex-husband says no, he thinks about 940 Singapore dollars, which is about £500 or $700 is enough. So I'm sure this will resonate with some of you listening today. It happens in Singapore as well. A couple had ended up in court due to a tussle over the amount of child maintenance the ex-husband has to pay the ex-wife. According to Shinmin Daily News, SMDN, the woman, who used to be a flight attendant, is from a wealthy family. Her father is supposedly a multimillionaire and owns over 3 million Singapore dollars worth of private property. On the other hand, her ex-husband is a lawyer who is reportedly from a low-income family and had to pay off his tuition loans whilst trying to pass the bar exam and get his lawyer's licence. SMDN reported that before they got married in 2016, she helped her ex-husband pay off his student loans. She also paid for all of their wedding expenses. And I'm sure there'll be some of you out there who've supported each other. That's what you do in a partnership, isn't it? But at quite a strong financial cost. 2 months after the woman gave birth to a set of twins in June 2018, the couple had an argument and she moved back to her father's residence together with their children. She requested her former husband to increase the child support to 6,500 Singapore dollars a month, as well as to make up for the amount he'd failed to pay in the past. But her request was rejected by the judge, prompting her to appeal the decision. According to the woman, monthly expenses for their children run up to nearly 10,000 Singapore dollars, which she said includes residence fees, transportation costs, as well as the cost of hiring a domestic helper. She said as the children are currently attending a private school, they should not transfer to another school as they have already gotten used to their present school environment. Therefore, she requires a monthly payment of 1,600 Singapore dollars from the man to pay for the school fees. Her ex-husband, however, disagrees. How many of you have fought over school fees? It's a very difficult area. However, in his case, he explained that he had no idea that the twins were registered at a private school, saying that he only knew about it when he was going through the divorce. He had added that he does not have the financial means to pay for their expensive private school tuition. In addition, the woman claimed that her father had billed her $3,200 for rent, and that she wants to move out of her father's mansion, which is the reason why she wants her ex-husband to share some of the financial burden of moving out. However, he doubted the authenticity of the bill that her father had given her and thought that she had forged the document in order to receive a greater amount of child maintenance. SMDN also reported that the ex-husband needs to pay off his loan of around 2,000 Singapore dollars every month, in addition to the amount he has to give his parents and handicapped brother, as well as the lease for his Mercedes-Benz. The woman, however, has argued that his luxury car is not a necessary expense and said that he could drive a cheaper car instead. Does this remind you of your own divorce in any way? It's so much he said, she said. However, with the car, he's claimed that he needs a Mercedes-Benz because he needs a car that can be fitted with booster seats for the kids. So this doesn't happen just in Singapore. Put it in the chat if you own up, if you've had these kind of arguments during divorce afterwards with child maintenance payments, child support payments, and how did you resolve them? If ever there was a couple you just need to sit down with a mediator, it's definitely this one. Prepare now for Ask the Expert, and we've got a pre-recorded, because you couldn't sadly be with us today, an interview with Caron, who's a very experienced psychotherapist, and I think you're going to find this very interesting.
After 26 years of working with divorces, and in some way all divorces are very difficult. There's different aspects of how difficult they are, and the difficulties can fall into different categories. But generally speaking, when two people tear apart a life and a life gets divided into different pieces, it's always more difficult to deal with pieces than the whole. One of the things I often see in my practice is that one of the parties, and usually often it's the party who didn't want the divorce, becomes more and more difficult as the divorce progresses. And this is because often they feel like they're being pushed into something that they didn't want, but then they having to compromise what's important to them to satisfy the other person who wanted the divorce and has rejected them, in order to achieve the person who's rejecting them's goals, which they have no desire to help at all. So often what we see happening is, as the divorce progresses, the engagement between the people get more and more difficult and more challenging, especially to the one who wanted the divorce and wants things to settle, to get over so they can get on with their lives. They often confront a situation where the other person is literally warring all day, every day, becomes very demanding, very unreasonable. And unfortunately, what happens for people is they expect the person to behave in a quote unquote normal way, in a way that they might have experienced them during the marriage or when they were friends or at an earlier time. But somebody who is angry, feeling rejected, going against what they would want for their life, is not going to be a reasonable negotiating partner that's willing to sit down in the mediation process and work things out. So because this is so emotionally draining, and I've seen people who literally have had to give up their jobs to actually cope with the divorcing partner, and sometimes it's the male, sometimes it's a female. It's, it's not, doesn't necessarily have to be gender specific. The first tool that I teach my patients is how to set up a healthy boundary, a boundary that exists between you and the divorce, so that you actually stop talking to your ex-partner as a partner, but actually start treating them in more of a business headspace, so that you're actually looking at the disagreements as business contracts rather than a rejection or a feeling like somebody's out to hurt you, and personalizing what's actually happening. And if nothing else, if you're able to imagine an imaginary window that every time a letter comes in, or there's a meeting or a phone call or a text, you're actually pushing the button that pushes up the imaginary window that sets up a boundary and a barrier between you and the letter or the text or the person, you're then able to answer it as if it doesn't really belong to you. And that's what we're trying to achieve in the beginning with people who become more and more difficult and more conflictual as the divorce goes on. So you're almost treating them as if it's somebody else's divorce. And if you can use that as a little bit of a role model in terms of, I'm going to treat this differently, then it doesn't become as emotionally exhausting, and emotionally draining, as if you're treating it from a standpoint that this is somebody I love, this is someone who I was married to, this is someone I have children with, so why are they treating me like this? And that's probably the most common question that I get asked all the time. Like, why would my partner treat me like this? And when I help people to understand that divorce brings up in everybody something different. So whatever the triggers are or the emotional feelings that the divorce is bringing up in your ex-partner, they're going to act out on you. So the best thing you can do is remove and detach yourself from that over-emotional engagement, which is then going to help you to be objective and help you to do something different with the information, which is what you're looking for. You're looking for a different type of engagement so that you can do something different with the information. And as soon as you can become more productive so that you're not as emotionally entangled in the information, your emotional well-being is not going to be as devastated as it is when you are emotionally over-involved. So the first technique is to imagine the glass window between you and the information that you can learn to be far more objective with.
Fantastic tips there from Caron. And if you want to make contact with Caron or talk to her, she's part of the Divorce Squad. Just come along to the, if you haven't already, bestwaytodivorce.online will take you to the app. Come in the app and you'll find me in there and I can introduce you to her. Now we're going to have a quick QR masterclass and then we'll have our shared story. So we're still on, we're moving on to parental alienation, which sadly far too many people are getting experience of. This is all part of the calm seas, we want calm when we're co-parenting, but unfortunately this is one of the things that comes up under the attack section. In Psychology Today, Edward Crook has written of 11 to 15% of the children of divorcing parents suffering the effects of implacable hostility. Even in the UK, where there are over 100,000 divorces granted every year, that estimate would equate to something like 11 to 15,000 children every year. So this is a much bigger problem than a lot of people realise. The parent labelled with implacable hostility, which is the official term, is unable to see any value in their child spending time with the other parent. But the effects of this on the child can be extreme, and the phrase used to describe this is parental alienation syndrome, or PAS, which can begin at a very young age, even younger than 2 years old. Although not a legally recognised syndrome, PAS is usually epitomised by the resident parent alienating the child against the non-resident parent. PAS, but it can be the other way around too. PAS is a form of child abuse in many people's opinion, including my own, but there are much more subtle and common forms of alienation, and not always against the non-resident parent. Ross Jones of Families Need Fathers has been quoted as saying, "It is recognised that children who are in the centre of such extreme conflicts of loyalty between their parents may suffer short-term damage in anxiety and depression, and longer-term difficulties in education, mental illness, and their own adult relationships." We'll be talking a little bit more about parental alienation in this section next week. But on a brighter note, we have now Jonathan Burston, who is going to be sharing a really good story with us. And welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, Susie.
So, what story have you got to share with us today?
Yeah, so I've been working with a client, and I have to say it's probably one of the most challenging cases that I've worked with. Just to give a little bit of background on the story, last year, Valentine's Day, husband expressed undying love, and by the end of the month, the client, the lady who's a mum to two young boys, had suffered a heart attack. And unfortunately, was in hospital for a number of weeks. Came home, and the day after, the husband said he was leaving her. And it's probably one of the most challenging cases I've come across in terms of then the husband. And we know how people can react when they leave as well, and they become the person that you never thought you knew as a result. And he put her through the ringer, really, in terms of both emotional, financial, and ultimately part of the physical, really, of abuse associated with the outcome of this. And his view was he had to do it for his own mental health, and financially he challenged her in terms of taking out additional loans in their names, etc., etc. And he's a reasonably well-paid job within the financial services sector, and she's now on benefits as a result of it. And last week we were chatting, and one of the areas she said is, I'm being pushed really, really hard by him now, and I don't know what to do. And the areas that two things I really wanted to share were, one is the power of saying no. Just because somebody says you have to do something doesn't mean you have to do it, and often we feel we have to because we've lived in a relationship where somebody has more power than the other. Therefore, we feel we've still got to carry that forward. And just as Caron was saying there, we've got to see it in a business terms rather than just as a previous husband-wife relationship. And the other side of that is not giving away something unless you're getting something in return. So in the business angle, it's in negotiations, it's about trading. If I give you something, Susie, then I have to expect something in return for it, because otherwise you're just going to keep asking me for more and more and give and give and give. But you have to make that other person work hard. I had an email from her literally this morning and said to her, and it says to me, it's a game changer, what we talked about last week, and it has saved her a court case as a result of her ability to say no and actually saying, if I give you this, I get that in return. So there we go.
That's fun. Well, congratulations. I'm so pleased because that's so traumatic, and it's not the first time I've heard where often it's when the mother is no longer the strong rock through illness, everything falls apart, and which is at the very time at the lowest that everything falls apart. But I remember that idea of you're so predisposed to go yes, and to try and be so reasonable, so you won't negotiate. You'll put the best offer in straight on the table, thinking that's me being a good person. And of course that's a disaster when we're not working with someone who is coming from the same place. So that's what. And the best news, of course, is the last thing she needs is a court case and a battle. So that's a lovely story. I love stories like that. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And I know you're going to come back and share some more, but your QR code there for anyone, especially anyone who's watching this online and seeing this again, what do they get if they use that?
Yeah, they go through to the website where they have the ability to book a call, and it's a free 30-minute consultation where we can talk through where they are and put some strategies in place, and if nothing else, they'll have some key takeaways that they can implement immediately. And if they want to work with me in the future, that's absolutely fine, but there's no pressure to do so as well, but help them put their divorce strategy in going in the right place.
And if they're in the Secret Divorce group in the app, they can find you in there, can't they? And I know you're going to be popping some useful things in there soon. That's right. Thanks so much. See you again soon, Jonathan. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
So a lovely positive story there, and we are going to do a quick roulette with the app. I just wanted to highlight the Divorce Radio Show this week. If you haven't come across it, it's a free app. bestwaytodivorce.online takes you straight there. And the Divorce Radio Show is basically the audio version of this, and sometimes there's additional content as well. But if you prefer to listen rather than watch, you can pull that up and catch up with previous shows online. It's on iTunes as well, but get it through the app. And another plug for our lovely divorce financial workshop in June, and that's getting regularly people coming on board for that. It's a great thing to do, particularly at the early stages, so that you are aware of all the dispute resolution options, so you're part of that trend the newspapers are now talking about, but also lots of just good advice on how to save lots of money and not let things get messy, and also tips on co-parenting as well. And all our wonderful divorce team are there for you to interact with and ask questions of. So now I'm going to bring in Susan, and we're going to have a little chat about what she's going to be doing with us today, and then get ready for our healing. And welcome, Susan, back to the show. I'm just unmuting you here. I've got my little thingy's gone funny on here. Here we go. Should be able to hear you now.
Hello.
Excellent. You're coming through loud and clear. So what are we going to be doing today?
We're doing a couple of little healing exercises so that one can experience a positive and a negative energy within their body. We're doing a sway test, and we're doing affirmation tapping routine, EFT, followed by a check-in second sway test to see if they feel positive, or I'll explain what happens if they're feeling negative.
It sounds very exciting, and it's something they can do. Do they need to stand up to do it, ideally?
The sway test, it lasts about 30 seconds. They do need to stand up, and I would be keeping them safe. They stand up, feet a little bit apart, close their eyes, say something, sense a forward or a backward movement, and then they sit down and we do the affirmation tapping.
Great. So nobody fall over, just take it gently, and Susan will take us through this. But this sounds a great one. I shall be clumping. Hopefully I won't knock everything over while I'm doing it this end.
Yeah,
I'll let you take it away.
So as I was saying to Susie, we're doing two little healing exercises which are very useful to gain a sense of positive and negative energy within your body. So a sway test and an affirmation style of EFT tapping. And because we're time scheduled, please follow my instructions and see if you can test the benefit. I'd like you, in a moment, you're going to repeat a simple statement. And the statement is, my name is, and you say your name. But follow me, please. You're looking for a sense of moving forward, if you've said your correct name. And if for some reason, when you're doing this again, if you practice this again, if you feel a negative movement going back, then the energy is not, it's not positive, it's a negative energy. So please just stand up for a few moments, feet slightly apart, and remember that you're going to repeat the phrase in a moment. So close your eyes and say, my name is, do that now, please. And open your eyes and sit down, please. You're going to test this again at the end. So if you said, my name is Susan Miller, I chose not to stand up and do it, too much going on. You know, I have a sense of going forward. And this is having a real sense of energy moving within your body. You know, it's fascinating because the body doesn't lie. Now, please, if you're new to tapping, we're going to do 3 or 4 minutes of affirmation tapping. And literally at the moment, just follow what I'm doing. I'm using 2 or 3 fingers very gently. I'm at the corner of the eye now. And when we tap, just follow around where I'm tapping just now, please, and listening what I'm saying. We have a sense in our body that we feel something. When we say something that causes us a little bit of alarm, we have a sense of it. And this is underneath the nose. That is when you've got a block. There's something going on in there, a response, and a block to what you're saying. Underneath the chin. This is just to get you to know the points. And we might give it a number. Collarbone, along the collarbone. And when the tapping and the words work for you, you may find that your tummy rumbles, then underneath the arm, your tummy rumbles. Go back to please do the karate point just now. Your tummy rumbles, you may burp or you may yawn. I usually yawn. So please, simple as you like, gentle fingertips, just copy me with the statements that I say. I am in control and in my power. I am in control and in my power. I am in control and in my power. Underneath the eye, I am in control and in my power. I am in control and in my power. I am in control and in my power. You may feel this somewhere. Wherever you feel it, that's your emotional block place for this particular routine that we're doing. Collarbone point. Repeat. I am in control and in my power. I am in control and in my power. Back to the top of the head, gentle fingertips, gentle fingertips. I am in control. I feel empowered. I am in control. I feel empowered. Where do you feel this in your body? It could be your ears, you don't want to hear it, your eyes, you can't get the words out your mouth, you have a difficulty saying it, so you don't believe it. Underneath the eye socket, please. Or you feel it in your tummy or your heart or your chest space. Have a sense, read your body. Where are you feeling it? Underneath the nose, repeat. I am in control. I feel empowered. 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 Back up to the top of the head. I feel strong. I can do what's required. Corner of the eye. Now, whatever's required these days with what you're going through, do you feel strong? Can you do what's required? Just repeat, please, after me. I feel strong. I can do what's required. I can feel strong. I can do what's required. If you're yawning or burping or your tummy's rumbling or you feel uncomfortable and it's moving, that's the blocks being released. Just take it from me. In the chin spot. I feel strong. I can do what's required. I feel strong. I can do what's required. Karate point. 3 times. I feel strong. I can do what's required. I feel strong. I can do what's required. I feel strong. I can do what's required. Now take a couple of little breaths. Carefully stand up. Have the space around you. Feet a little bit apart. Close your eyes and repeat after me. I feel strong. I can do what's required. Maybe one more time to see whether you can sense a forward or a backward movement. Repeat. I feel strong. I can do what's required. And then open your eyes. Some breaths. Sit down, please. So the sway test, the body doesn't lie. If you have a sense of moving forward, that's a positive. You do feel stronger. You can do what's required. If you had a sense of going back, that's a negative response. So what I would be saying to that is, do the affirmation more to release, and as a quick fix, to release the negative energy. These are exercises that can work for the quick fix. They're solid exercises to do. However, my clients sometimes have to work with me for 6 sessions, 3 months, 6 months. My information will be in all Susie's areas. So thank you very much. Do practice this if you've got a sense that, wow. If you are practicing it, test it with a lie the next time round, just to see. Thanks very much, Susie. Done.
Yeah, so I'll say your name is Bill Gates, and so you should find yourself going back. That was lovely, Susan, and I went forward only a little bit, but it's definitely a sway forward. So it's a great way to test, I guess, where you are and where. Otherwise, how do you know that you've still got these blocks? So I can't hear you at the moment because I'm going to bring you in. Though I'm going to bring you in. There you go.
It's very, very subtle. It's to give people a sense, just a sense of that their body is telling them what is true and what's causing some difficulty. Very subtle.
Very subtle. Thank you for that. And I'm going to now take us out of the show. And yeah, you'll be putting links to useful things that people can find out more. That was great. And see you again soon. So our final words are, as is always the case, in the battlefield of family separation, in the war of divorce, always, always make peace your weapon of choice.